Howdy everyone, and welcome to the next lesson on Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and the next one is going to be looking at uniformity as enemy. Okay, so the starter activity is going to be, what do you think individualism is and what do you think collectivism is? Okay, so what is individualism, what is collectivism? You look at the words, what words are inside of them, and have a guess what you think those two things are. And then the challenge is, does BHA value individualism or collectivism? Pause the video, answer that question. Okay, so individualism and collectivism. Individualism is the philosophy that the individual is more important than the country or the state. And then collectivism is the philosophy of the group being given priority over the individual. So to condense that a little bit, individualism, caring about the one person, looking after themselves, being out for themselves, and collectivism, where everyone looks out for everybody else, that everybody is included, everybody's looked after, whereas the individual, in individualism, is looked after by themselves. Okay, their priority is themselves. That's the difference. So summarise what individualism is and summarise what collectivism is. Okay, let's move on then. All right, so have a look at some of these beliefs then. This was created by these three men up there, and have a look at what the sorts of values are between individualism and collectivism. So individualism, independent control, goals for oneself, competition with others, uniqueness is valued, private self-knowledge, direct communication, consistent self in all situations, and prefers to work alone. Okay, so you can be thinking to yourself, am I this sort of person, or am I the sort of person that's more collectivist? Let's have a look at collectivism. Relational with a group, the sense of belonging, a duty to a group, harmony with others, advice sought from others, self alters according to context, hierarchy important, and prefers working in groups. So you can see clearly the differences between individualism and collectivism. So what I'd like you to do now then is, I want you to debate with yourself on your paper. What is your opinion on this statement? Individualism is better than collectivism. Look at these values, okay? Look at these values being represented by these two columns, and which one do you think you belong to better, or which one do you think society is better? And if you're not sure where to start, consider which is more helpful to you, your family, and then perhaps the global population and the world, okay? So spend about 15 minutes explaining your point of view. What is better, individualism or collectivism? I promise this will make sense to the film in a minute. 15 minutes, off you go. Okay then, so let's move on. I put a challenge here. Why might some people choose one over the other? And the sorts of things you might consider then is not necessarily how selfish a person is, but how much they think that a person individually is more important than a whole group of people. Can one person do more good for themselves than one person doing good for the whole community? So that's the sort of things you might consider, why one person might choose one thing over the other. Okay?
Go on, pull it down. Well, what do you make of it?
Who is he?
I have no idea.
It's face files. It's vague.
It's like the first impression that's stamped on a coin. It isn't finished.
You're right. There's all the features, but no details, no character, no lines.
It's no dead man.
Have you got an ink pad around the house?
Should be one on the desk. Why?
I want to take the corpse's fingerprints.
Of course it's a dead man. What else could it be?
I don't know, but I've got a feeling that... This sounds crazy, but if I should do an autopsy, I think I'd find every organ in perfect condition. As perfect as the body is externally. Everything in working order. All set to go. Hold it now. He's a blank.
Waiting for the final finished face to be stamped onto it.
But whose face? Tell me that.
Okay, then now that you've watched the clip, we're going to be looking at some of the quotations from the dialogue that the characters spoke about. And do you get a sense that the dead body is collectivist or individualist? And do you get the sense that the characters value what that dead body is representing? Let's have a look. So the two questions here: how do the characters describe the dead body, and what do the characters seem to be disgusted about or fearful of about the dead body? So his face is vague. It's like the first impression of a stamp on a coin. They didn't finish it. He has all the features but no details, no character. He's blank. This isn't you yet. So what do you think that they're describing about this body then? So it should be that you guys are coming to the conclusion that based on the idea of it being vague, unfinished, no character, blank, that this body represents collectivism. That this is a criticism that some people have of collectivism, in that they think there's no individual at all. There's no room for being unique in collectivism. So what this dead body represents then, and the pod people represent, is collectivism. They represent a collectivism, and that we should be scared of it because the characters are. Now, if the characters are disgusted by or frightened of collectivism, then you can tell that what they value is individualism. They don't like being part of a bigger group of people because they see them as what we call homogenous, which means there's not a lot of difference between the different people in society. So have a look at the question then. So how does this dialogue and scene relate to collectivism/individualism? I'd like you to explain how this scene relates to it. Use some quotations from here. You may want to form it into almost like an English essay where you're analysing quotations. So how does the dialogue and scene relate to collectivism and individualism? If you're feeling really brave, you could talk about how the film language also helps towards contributing that creepiness about collectivism. Okay? So 10-15 minutes, explain how this scene represents collectivism or individualism and which one is being valued. Pause the video, 10-15 minutes, off you go. So, final activity then is this challenge activity. What I'd like you to do is give your opinion on this question. Is the film taking a positive view on each of these different ideologies, or are they taking a negative view? Is it positive towards collectivism or negative? Is it positive towards individualism or negative? Explain to me, based on how the characters are represented, think about that scene we just watched, okay? And that the aliens, the pod people, are collectivists. So how does the film and the director feel about collectivism and individualism? Okay? 5 minutes, off you go. Final activity, and then you're done.